Okay, we are back for our second installment of our Varagur preview video activity. So here we are moving to group two. So group two was Zoe, Sean, Yunpeng, Sahil, and Gabriel. So again, what is the dictionary definition of discipline? So here, breaking it down for us, right? So again, to kind of uh, discipline ourselves, if we may, to go to a dictionary to help us brainstorm for close reading and making connections that use a particular word really precisely to make a nice, precise connection between texts. Okay, so discipline is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct a disobedience. Okay, and so there are a lot of elements here with discipline. And so really working with the dictionary definition is going to help us develop a full response to the connection that Varagur is making between this new skincare regimen and the idea of discipline. And also in making this larger argument that goes beyond skincare. So, um, right, this practice of training people and to obey rules or a code of behavior, right? So this has everything really to do with kind of control and power, right? So again, that use of the term militant suggesting, right, a power structure, a hierarchy, a chain of command, that there are people kind of in control of the discipline, right, who are doing the training, and there are people who are being trained. And that leads to this word docile. So docile means ready to accept control or instruction, submissive, right? And so we have someone in the position of power and someone who is submissive, right? And so the person in the submissive situation is ready to accept control or, instruction, right? So if we think in terms of the regimen, the person, the patient, right, being prescribed the regimen is in that submissive position, right? So they're willing to accept the authorities' advice and the regimen that they are prescribing. And right, so this idea of training, and so it requires obedience, obeying from someone. And we want to think about how that translates to what's happening here with skincare. All right. So three, as Foucault contends, the human body becomes a machine through the process of discipline. So what might be some of the benefits of this transformation of the body into a machine, and what might be some of its drawbacks or dangers? Okay, so this one doesn't have a response, and yes, this was certainly a challenging question. So here, Foucault equating the human body to a machine, that actually through the process of discipline, it becomes a machine. Um, and we want to think about benefits, right, and drawbacks. And um, so if we think about the body becoming a machine, right? If we think about, okay, so let's imagine this is my skincare routine, right? I've decided on my own accord that I want skin that looks fresh and dewy and natural, and I want to spend a lot of money buying products that'll make me look like I have no makeup on. And so in that situation, right, I am in control and I am disciplining my own skin, right, my own body, in pursuit of this perfect skin. But really, right, as Varger is using Foucault to emphasize, it's not so much about the perfect skin. It's more to kind of convey to everyone, look how I'm disciplining myself, right? I'm able to discipline myself. I'm able to spend a lot of money disciplining my skin. Um, and so, right, so if it's a routine, then I'm in control. I'm both the kind of doctor or the person in authority or control, and the person who's being submissive, right? So I'm in control, and my body or my skin is being submissive or docile. Okay, but when you think of the larger picture here, right? So who stands, and this ties into question 4, right? So what groups of people might stand to gain from the discipline of human bodies? And so in this particular case study of skincare, right? So women going out and spending a lot of money on a little tiny bottle of serum and buying a lot of different serums. So who stands to gain, right? So in terms of an individual routine, okay, I'm disciplining my skin, right? So maybe I will benefit because other people are like, wow, look at her skin. So I get social approval, right? And so maybe I'm in a job interview and I'm showing that I am disciplining my body, and the next candidate does not display that, right? Then maybe all things being equal, I get the competitive edge and get the job, right? So there are all these kind of social rewards for demonstrating that we're disciplining our bodies in particular ways. And but largely, right? So think about the skincare corporations, right? I mean, the skincare is an industry, an entire industry, right? And so what might skincare corporations stand to gain if women discipline their bodies to the point that they become machines, right? So in some ways they kind of lose their human qualities, their imperfections, and they become this machine that can be optimized, right? And also a machine under other humans' control, right? So a body that becomes submissive and ready to accept rules and codes of behavior, right? So again, take a couple seconds and reflect on that question and respond here in our bulb. So again, for skincare corporations, how might they benefit from women disciplining themselves with extreme skincare regimens? Okay, right. So they're going to gain profit, right? So if you are convincing a group of people that they are not okay as is, right? That they need to go out and purchase products to improve themselves, right? To demonstrate how they can discipline themselves to be rewarded socially, then yeah, there's a big profit, right? Especially with this particular skincare regimen where these individual bottles of serums cost a lot of money, right? And as Varagur mentions, no one's really, no one who is engaged in this regimen and convinced by it um, is only buying one bottle of serum, right? So the idea is, right, they're using all these different serums, right, to discipline themselves, right, through various means. And what is the result of that, right? So what does Varagur say is the result of people using multiple serums? Pause here for a moment. Yeah, so women are again literally wounding their skin, right? It's violence, right? And that comes back to that term militant, right? There's something combative, there's something violent, right? There's a war against their skin. They're breaking that skin barrier. And so again, right, these larger skincare corporations, making money, right, convincing them that they need all of these varieties of products, right, to prove to others that they are disciplining themselves. And through that process of discipline, again, this implication that we're becoming less human through this extreme kind of discipline, right? We're becoming machines that are more easily made submissive or docile, right? And so that raises questions of control, right? So if we're disciplining ourselves into becoming machines that follow external societal rules or rules generated by corporations, we're in a dangerous situation, right? And so this is part of what Varga wants her readers to see, right? Coming back to this first paragraph or this first sentence that makes for a full paragraph. Before you start a militant skincare regimen, think about why you want one and why it seems like a good idea, right? So she's kind of saying, okay, so this seems great. It seems like a good in itself that you're disciplining yourself and you're changing your regimen and you're always constantly trying to improve and do better and be healthier. She's kind of going step back a little bit. Okay, whose interests are being served here, right? Beyond yourself, what's the bigger picture? And certainly part of that bigger picture are skincare corporations. Okay, so that's question 4. Question 5, so how might the benefits and drawbacks of disciplining human bodies and the interests served by doing so be related to this distinction between intrinsic and instrumental goods? Okay, these benefits and drawbacks. So again, it comes back to Foucault's distinction, right, that he makes. So disciplining the human body can make it more docile and useful. Good. The human body is a machine that can be used for many things. Good. And used for many things that benefit who, right? What groups of people, what organizations, what corporations. For intrinsic and instrumental goods can be related through the use of skincare. Okay, so that's pretty general. We want to try to make that more specific. And again, just to re-emphasize, so part of the follow activity that we'll be setting up in the next video or two will involve each group going back into their section and making these responses fuller, right? So for group 2, you guys are going to come into question 3 and develop that response, make these responses a little fuller, and right, making this more specific. So yeah, again, this question 5 comes back to Foucault. And so right, women are disciplining their skins for the sake of disciplining their skins, right? Disciplining their skin is an intrinsic good. So the instrumental good of disciplining your skin would be achieving perfect skin. But again, that's not the goal. It's to demonstrate that you're continuing to discipline your skin. And again, whose interests are being served? Well, if women feel like they've never quite attained perfection or what they're looking for, that they have to continually strive, right, to improve and to try out different methods of improving themselves, then that's feeding what Varagur refers to, right, as the cycle of capitalism. So you're going to continue to invest in different products. When there's a new skincare fad, you're going to invest in those products. When there's a new diet, you're going to try that out, right? And so, if the end product were better skin, then once you achieved better skin, you would stop, right? That would really keep the wheels of capitalism going, according to Varagur, right? So this idea of discipline for the sake of discipline to prove to everyone that, look, I'm really good at disciplining myself, I'm following these larger societal rules and expectations, that is really strongly connected to capitalism. That's the bigger picture driving this desire to discipline ourselves. And so this extreme militant form of skincare regimen is just one example of the ways that we discipline ourselves, right? So also, weight loss, also different diet types, right? Going to the gym, and doing new and different routines at the gym, right? CrossFit or interval training or this, right? All these different ways to discipline the body. Okay, and so if we think back here, or let's go ahead and just pause there for a breather. So an end review question before we head into group 3's responses. So what are the larger interests being served here when women discipline their skin? So what's this larger picture? Whose interests are being served? And so if discipline has to do with obeying rules, who is establishing these rules, right? Okay, so take a moment and you can respond. Okay, right. So in terms of capitalism, these larger corporate interests, right? So skincare companies. And also more broadly, these rules are kind of gender rules, right? So this notion that women should prioritize their external physical appearance, right? And spend a lot of money and a lot of time improving that external experience, that's important, right? That women obtain these impossible standards of beauty. And Varagur, right, is emphasizing that they are impossible, right? Because there's no such thing as perfect skin, according to Varagur, right? And so, right, so part of this has to do, this larger picture is both capitalism and both gender roles, right? So these rules of how you are supposed to perform and fulfill your gender. And you are rewarded for doing so according to the specific rules, and you're punished for not doing so, right? You're an outcast. You're not doing a good enough job disciplining yourself. Maybe you're a tomboy because you're not adequately presenting femininity, right? There are all kinds of ways that society can reward and punish for not following our prescribed, right? Again, that role prescribed coming from regimen, prescribed gender roles. Okay, great. I will see you back here for group 3.